Rule number one with relationships on semen retention is you do not have to maintain or keep any type of relationship that is draining you. And in fact, I would even say that you are spiritually obligated to your inner child to walk away from anybody who is treating you like you are some kind of opportunistic expense on their end. And you don't need to maintain a connection that you don't really value either. If you're not really getting something as far as value, if there's no value for exchange of value in the dynamic, you don't need to stay. So, with that being said, I want to welcome everybody to another Semen Retention Sunday episode here on the Regal Change account. We've got the Sunday morning coffee here, and we've got a great topic for you today because this is something that needs to be talked about, is the topic of relationships, soulmates, and what happens when you find out that your soulmate is actually retarded. Now, when I say retarded soulmate, I do not necessarily mean this to be strictly romantic. Now, it can be, and you can figure that out. I've had a lot of men in my one-on-one sessions over the years. They tell me that they were in a relationship or they were dating a girl or whatever, and then they start going on semen retention and they find out that she's kind of a retarded. She's kind of a Jezebel, right? She's kind of a narcissistic person, and they're like, well, why am I with this person, and why is it so hard to get away from this person? Well, there could be a few reasons for that. Is number one is you're trauma bonded, and number two is, well, maybe the truth is that you're begging for breadcrumbs from people that don't really have any intention to make you food or give you food anyway. So if you're begging for crumbs from people that don't really have intentions to help you out anyway, well, then that's an issue in of itself. But maybe you don't know this, right? Maybe you don't know that this person can only pretend to be there for you, right? This person can only pretend to be there. And what you're realizing slowly is that, oh, okay, no, this person isn't even there. This person is an illusion in of itself. And when you find out about this, it can be kind of a harrowing experience, particularly because you had good intentions, but maybe through time you let your feelings for compassion in of itself, or the desire to see the good in other people, blind you from your own insufficiencies when it comes to maintenance of relationships. Sometimes relationships are like, a really old car. In order to repair the thing, sometimes you're just gonna have to total it and redo the whole thing. And sometimes you might be trying to put your engine, like maybe you've got a McLaren engine, right? Maybe you've got a nice McLaren engine or a Ferrari engine or whatever, but you're trying to put that engine inside a Kia Altima, right? Like something like that. I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to hate on Kias or anything like that, because I think some of them are actually pretty good cars, but at least for, basic understandings of cars. I'm not a car person, okay? I'm just giving an analogy. The point is that you might be trying to put an engine in something that doesn't really match the framework of what you're capable of. And that's exactly what happens on semen retention. On semen retention, you've got so much vitality and power that sometimes people are going to see that power and they're gonna want to destroy it. And this is a very retarded move on behalf of the soulmates around you. Now, when I've talked about soulmates, of course, when I say they're not strictly relationships, romantic relationships, that is, These can be soulmates of any different kind. Now, Aristotle outlines 3 different types of friendships, and these are friendships of utility, of where it's like business, right? Then there's pleasure, which is a little bit above the utility, and then there's true virtuous friendships. I think that you can adopt this type of framework for romantic relationships as well. And we can just say relationships in general operate on these 3 functions for the time being and the duration of this video. So when you find out that your soulmate is retarded, what's actually going to happen is that you realize that you're vibrating on a frequency so high that maybe she even feels like you're the villain in her story now. And the thing is that people that don't know how to celebrate light, they're going to have to go through a refinement process. You can either celebrate the light or you can be refined by it. That's really the only process that's available. And semen retention will naturally put you on a trajectory in which you're going to be seen by certain people. You're going to be shown certain individuals, and you're going to be introduced to certain individuals that are going to reveal certain things about you. And the key thing here is to trust your intuition. Always trust your intuition. Do not let yourself be taken advantage of, unless, even if they do take advantage of you, accept that you can control the narrative of the situation. Because if you can control the narrative of the situation, you can control what I call the timeline, like the creative timeline sculpting process. So when you can create the timeline sculpting process in of itself through the narrative, even when people take advantage of you, you can just train yourself to be so abundant that even if they do take advantage of you, it's not going to be deterrent toward your actual livelihood. And you're going to learn something from it, because it's actually pretty interesting to give, right? Because relationships are, number one, a place to give. They're a place to give, and they are a place to not take. If you're going into relationships thinking that you have to take in order for you to get something, it's not really the best. It's not going to lead to a long-term solution, or not even a long-term solution, just a long-term genuinely happy relationship where positive emotions are maximized and negative emotions are minimized. It's just not going to work. And the reason being is because, well, obviously, if you have a taker in the relationship, then the person is going to see that or feel like if this person has this or that, well, then I can just do this and this. But the thing is that sometimes when that type of thing happens, and semen retention will allow you to see this a little bit more clearly and just move in a way that's like, okay, this is what happened. All right, let's adjust. You don't need to make a point. You don't need to teach somebody a lesson all the time. You don't, because most of the time when you try to teach someone a lesson, like, oh, I'm going to teach them a lesson, I'm going to show them, usually it doesn't end well for either of you. Like it doesn't end well for either of you. And it's not to say that you shouldn't teach them a lesson, but the lesson that you ought to teach them is one by integrating your shadow and integrating the process of you, because the more that you understand your own shadow, the better you're going to see the patterns in other individuals pop up. And you might notice that there are certain people or things that are going on in your life where before semen retention, these things were seemingly not an issue. And now all of a sudden, because of your vitality, now you've got an issue. But you're like, well, isn't semen retention supposed to solve these issues? It's like, well, it's revealing them. Because the real issue is that there's no issues, spiritually speaking, in the long term. Like once you get to a certain point, it's just the issue is there's no issues. And worry truly is preposterous. However, that doesn't negate the fact that while you're in this meat suit, that there are many things that we're going to have to associate ourselves with that seem like issues and seem like problems. And maybe they are, maybe they are, but it's only a problem for the moment. It's not a problem indefinitely. And when you can just deal with it and let it go, that's going to be the best antidote for you in the long term. But really, it requires on your end clear structure and clear reformations and clear strategy, because the short-term gain is going to lose to long-term strategy. And it's like when you're in a relationship with a woman, right? Or really anybody, there's usually a give and take of some sort. There's a give and take, but it's not really like a taking just because you want to take. It's a taking because actually, I don't even think, let's rewind. It's not a give and take, it's a give and receive, because that's what the feminine essence really is a receiver. She receives, she doesn't, and she makes something with that receiving. Women either multiply what you have or they just take what you have. It's the same thing with people. People either multiply what you have or just take from you. And what's crazy is that these people can be really good at making it seem like, oh, they're gonna be like, they can talk you up to other people. They can really make it seem like, they want to do certain things for you and with you and all this stuff, only to have them try to take advantage of you. And that's a rough thing to watch sometimes. But this is where the timeline sculpting comes into play. When you can control the narrative of the situation, the long-term strategy is going to be what beats the short-term gain. Let them feel like, if you truly feel like your soulmate is retarded, like this friendship or whatever, like, oh man, this is retarded, then truly let them feel like they're winning. Let them feel like they're winning in the short term. Let them feel like they're winning, and then watch down the line how their lack of fulfillment and their lack of actual integration is going to crumble their own wins. The weight of those lacks on their end, their feeling of lack, is going to be so harsh to them that everything that they felt like they won with you while they took advantage of you, that's going to make them like it's just going to crumble. It's like they built a structure made out of glass, and then a huge rock just dropped on the glass structure. The rock of truth just shattered. Reality shatters for them. And it's only going to happen when maybe it's a little too late. So be around people that see your intrinsic value, and be around people that see that because you are a divine essence and divine immortal soul. You matter more than you think that you do, and there's something spectacular going on within this domain that we're moving into timelessness with. And the best thing that you can do is to choose to be on high value timelines. Now, sometimes these can be high cost, high value timelines. Sometimes they can be low cost, low value timelines. But no matter what, if it's a high value timeline, it's usually going to be more everlasting for you. So it might look like they're winning in the short term, right? Because for you, it's a high cost. It's a high cost to be around a soulmate that, they're just trying to take advantage of you, or they're doing all these things to try to get over on you, or they're keeping score. and they're just incapable of being there for you in the way that you need them to be. And it's really your fault for staying around these people, not being around these people, because sometimes you just don't know, but for staying around these people. Once the truth is revealed, if you choose to be around these individuals, that's on you. Okay, at that point, it's not them disrespecting you, it's you disrespecting yourself. And there's a great book called The Velveteen Rabbit. And I actually have been going through The Velveteen Rabbit. It's a children's book, and one of the initiates that I work with had this book when they were younger. And we were talking about it in one of our sessions recently, actually a couple of our sessions recently. And we were talking about the Velveteen Rabbit, and one of the things that the Velveteen Rabbit says, well, the book says it, but there's like a fairy that says it to the Velveteen Rabbit, is when you're real, you no longer really feel, how did they say it exactly? How did the fairy say it? Like, when you're real, you don't mind being hurt. That's what it is. When you're real, you don't mind being hurt. And that's a very powerful stance to have, is because you recognize that you'd rather be hurt than not feel anything at all. And it's not because you want to be hurt. It's just that you'd rather live with an open heart, love everyone, and tell the truth. Because sometimes telling the truth can be heartbreaking, and loving everyone can be heartbreaking while telling the truth. But it doesn't have to be. And that's the liberating thing here. And that's why semen retention will change this for you, is that you don't really mind. Like, if somebody takes advantage of you, they're going to take advantage of you. That's not something that you can control. You can only put the structure of your boundaries to a point in which you can maintain certain things. And if they do that, then that's on them. Like, that's their issue. That's not yours. And maybe it is just for you, like old karma running off, so to speak. But we all reap what we sow. Like, that's what karma really is, reaping and sowing. A lot of people will think that maybe that's not the same, but technically I don't see any true difference between reaping and sowing and then karma. Because a free spirit understands that what they reap and what they sow is going to be the same type of thing. It's like what the Bible says also, that when you give, like, give and it shall be given unto you. Give yourself some grace. And sometimes you're going to need to give other people grace, right? Like, maybe your soulmate is that retarded that you need to give them some grace. But other times, they don't need grace, they need boundaries. And sometimes the boundary is the grace, I suppose, but ultimately, when it comes to semen retention, it's going to change the dynamic of your relationships. It just will. And sometimes people will see your power, and they'll see the relationship that you have with yourself, and they find it so amazing and so beautiful that they want to destroy it. Like, in The Dark Knight, when Alfred says to Batman, like, some men just want to watch the world burn. That's true, of course, but some people, they just want to destroy something beautiful. And when you have a great relationship with yourself, they want to, like, destroy that trust that you have inwardly with yourself. And women will do this very much so as well. Women who are intimidated by your own confidence, even if you're not like a super attractive guy, right? But maybe you are an attractive guy and you're confident. Like, that's like, we're taught as men that being a confident man who's also attractive is the bad guy, is the villain. Like, we're just vibrating and we're on a frequency so high that we're going to be naturally the villains in these people's stories, because that's what we're supposed to be, according to the movies, the TV shows, etc. The books, whatever it is, all these nonfiction, whatever, or fiction, whatever, books. It's just the fictitiousness of this domain and accepting the fictitiousness of it therein is part of the process in transcending these despicable formations of life while we're here on the planet. And I really don't even like saying planet because, you know, that's a whole nother story. But because I got some sun gazing in this morning before this video, I like woke up and the sun was already rising. I slept in a little bit today. Usually I'm up pretty early, and I woke up a little bit later than usual today because I just needed some extra sleep. And I woke up and I immediately was able to just go out and sun gaze, and man, that was whew. Usually I have like a minute to kind of wake up, you know, because when you first wake up, everybody's kind of like getting their sea legs back, you know, from sleep. But today I just decided to go straight out after waking up, and man, it was so powerful. It was so powerful. I felt so energized immediately. Like the sunlight is such a beautiful giver. You know, I'm so grateful for the sunlight because it is such a graceful giver, and the sun gives and gives and gives and gives and gives. Like, it's just so abundant that it always has room to give. And that's really how I think we ought to be. We ought to become our own suns. And I think on semen retention, like, a lot of people take advantage of the sunlight, right? A lot of people try to use the sunlight. It's like, oh, well, it's just, you know, it's everlasting energy anyway, so we might as well just use it. And I think that that's like, you kind of miss the point. Like the Native Americans, you know, I've studied a little bit more of the Native Americans and their relationship to earth and earthliness and the heavenliness and such. And, you know, they really got a lot of things right. I really think they did. Just the way that they relate to one another and related to one another, as well as the land and, you know, the essence of life. It was just so beautiful, right? And I'm not saying that it's like, oh, it's only the Native Americans. Like the Aboriginals from Australia, like, wow, you know, some of those Aboriginal artists, if you've never looked at Aboriginal art, definitely go check some out because it's so beautiful. It's so cool. Like, you know, I've done a lot of paintings where it's inspired by Aboriginal art, and man, I mean, just the interesting technique. It's like basically dots, right? It's like all dots, and yet for some reason it looks so dreamlike, you know. It's just so dreamy, and it's just so beautiful, and it's just so there's a connection to the essence of life there. And when you're on semen retention, yeah, you're gonna get you're gonna get you know, attractive soulmates and all that. You're gonna get, but you have to recognize that you're also an electromagnetic field, and that's going to increase on semen retention. So naturally, when you're magnetic, what do magnets usually do? Well, they absolutely attract or they repel, right? And nobody wants to talk about that repelling aspect. Everybody wants to think like, oh, everything's just going to come to me. It's like, well, yeah, but you're also going to repel certain things and they're going to repel you. And it's not that it's bad. It's just that you can't put a positive and a positive, well, let's say a negative and a negative polarization together. Like you can't do that. There's a reason why the positive and the negative polarities with magnets come together. Like magnets have always been kind of a mystery for most people, right? And science doesn't really know exactly how to describe what magnets really are. But one thing is for certain, it's that this life is so cool and God is so cool that you can look at it from different perspectives that all seemingly contradict one another, right? They all contradict one another seemingly on the surface, but we can all agree that there's something, you know, there's something there, there's some kind of essence, there's something more here. But we just disagree on what that is and how we use it and how we talk about it. And I think that underlying, like, well, there is something to experience. That's the most powerful thing that we can have in this life. But I've said everything that I wanted to say in this video. I hope that everybody stays blessed. I hope that everybody has a peaceful day, and be so abundant like the sun. Be like your own sun. Have that, what the Orthodox calls it, uncreated light. And although I can totally see what they're saying, actually, like I totally see what they're saying. So have that uncreated light within you now being emanated. And I don't like to call it uncreated light. I like to call it unforeseen light. That's kind of the way that I think about it, is unforeseen light. And now you can create that new timeline sculpture, and you can sculpt your own timeline with that narrative. People don't have to control the narrative. They might be able to control certain events, but you control the narrative within those events. And that's where timeline sculpting really comes into play. So with all that being said, peace be with you all. Check out the Regal Academy. Check out my one-on-ones or the Godlike Mastery offer that I have as well. And, if you want to support me in other ways, the best way to do it is to like, subscribe, and comment to just help the algorithm, because we need to get these messages out to as many people as possible. And at least those that have eyes to see and ears to hear, because I don't think this is for everybody at all. But I know that, because this is exclusive, right? Like, this kind of information is exclusive. But it's not because we want it to be exclusive. It's just that sometimes we need to protect these sacred ideas and ways of life. Otherwise, people are going to try to destroy it. But the thing is that even if people do try to destroy it, nothing's ever really lost. Nothing is ever really lost. So with all that said, peace. Until next time.